this is what we got. This is a 65-inch light bar from SpeedTech Lights, and it is their Toe Series light bar. And the difference with the Toe Series with their normal light bars is that this one comes already integrated with connections for running lights and turn signals, and then the rest of it, all the functionality is done through this main harness and the main controller here. So we're going to be getting this set up, but then I'll be able to have still keep the running lights and turn signals up top, which is nice, added lights and visibility, but then also have a full amber light bar that I can control. Eventually I'll be able to control it from inside the truck. I'll be able to turn it on and off along with all the alley lights. So the side lights light up alley, and there's takedown in the front and takedown in the rear. I'll put up a little video after this clip of when I got this and unboxed it and kind of tested it out. You'll be able to see the different functionality there. So we're gonna get the old bar taken off and then show you what I got going for brackets and stuff to get this mounted up. It's going to sit on top of the cross member where the old one was, and then I got some 1/4-inch aluminum that will be bolted into the cross member, and then the light will bolt to that just because the feet on the light are wider than the cross member. And then down the road, I'm going to have to kind of play with it. I may put some square tube under it to raise it up a couple inches just because it is kind of low in perspective with everything else. But at least for the time being, it'll be good with this setup here. What we got going over here for hardware, so I got 2 holes drilled off of center along the rail here, spread out to match the spacing on the light bar there. So these aluminum plates will get bolted with these 5/16 bolts up from the bottom. So I'll be through this, threaded into here. And then these M6 bolts will go through the feet and thread into here and get tapped. Do need to take off these brackets in order to get the M6s on, so we'll get the plates on, these set loose, and then we can get everything centered on. But that's really what I got going on for right now. And like I said, for the time being, that'll be good. If I decide I want to space it off more in the future, it's easy enough to add spacers underneath these brackets here. All the aluminum plates are drilled and tapped. They're all mounted to the feet that are on the light. These brackets are hand tight, so the next thing is we'll flip it over, drop it on top of here where I have these holes drilled out to size 2, and then we'll bolt up through the bottom, get everything snug up here, and then center it in place. And then after that, we'll be hooking up the electrical, which looks really bad because it's like a big thick wire with a bunch of wires, but it really is kind of plug and play, which is pretty sweet. So let's get this on. The light bar is all bolted up. The one thing I didn't notice until after I started putting everything together is that these feet actually have a little bit of an angle to them, and that's probably because it's meant to sit on top of like a roof of a car or truck that has a crown, where this is kind of perfectly dead flat. So there's a little bit of pressure on them, but like I said, I think I'm going to want to raise this up after the fact anyway. So for now, it'll hold everything in place. Got wires ran down following here. There's one cable that runs up front that connects to the trailer connection box there, and that will be for the running light and turn signals that show up on the back. Got the wiring ran through that slot for now, controller placed right there, power and ground hooked up. Got the cruise function on. You can shut cruise off and go full 360. You can see it flash. So once the sun goes down a little bit, I'll go through some more kind of functions and be able to see the flash patterns and stuff like that. But it's not like a Whalen light bar bright, but it's still pretty bright and it shows up good on camera too. So it's better than nothing at the end of the day. So pretty happy with that so far. I am going to end up running a splitter harness off of this so that I can control it with some other functions. And I'm going to hook up like the running lights, the cruise function as well, just to kind of customize it a little bit. But for now, that's going to be good. We're going to wrap up getting that connected and we'll touch base in a little bit. The 3 wires here for the taillight controls are hooked up, so all that info is online if you have the same light bar, but the yellow wire is your running lights, the red wire is left turn, and the black wire is right turn. So we'll tidy up, heat shrink stuff inside, just make sure that it works. So I'll go turn the lights on and you can see them work back in the at the trailer. With this controller here, they have a couple different options when you buy it. I got the small handheld controller because does everything I need it to, and then most of the time it's going to be controlled from not the controller here, but from the truck, which is another project that I'm working on. Is ultimately I'll be able to turn on the strobe light and all my work lights and stuff from inside the truck without having to get out, but that's a project for another day. So the bottom buttons, you have cruise, which turn on the corner lights. Eventually, I'm going to have those tied into the running lights, so they'll be on. And then if the strobe light goes on, there'll be a relay that switches off to shut the lights off. Because if you have the strobe function on, but you have the cruise on, it stays steady. But when you shut cruise off, it begins to flash. Auxiliary is you have power and ground for another set of wires that is part of the harness if you wanted to connect something else, another strobe light, work light, whatever to it. The directional arrows here are for the back, so you have left, center out, and right. So if we go to center out, you can see the center out pattern. Go over to left, which it toggles over automatically. You don't need to unclick the center out. Goes to the left signal. And the right signal. So you have a pattern select, which is when the light is on. This is takedown, which is the front 2 center lights here. The alley button does the sides and the back work lights. So you have independent control of that. You can do one or the other or both. Front of the light does only the front. Back of the light does only the back. And then you have 360, which does front and back of the light. So on here, if you press the pattern select, it goes back and forth between patterns. There's 20 some odd patterns, I believe. They're all online. Shows you exactly what they are. If you press and hold the pattern button for 3 seconds, it'll go into a full steady burn state in which the whole light bar is steady burn. The 2 there that are out are for the running lights. Those are still independent fully from the rest of the strobe function. When you come off of the steady burn, it goes back to the first flash pattern, which is I'm not a huge fan of, because then if you have one set, you have to go back. So if you hold it for 5 seconds, it goes into a random pattern, which pretty much it'll cycle through the entire list of flash patterns. So you can see it changing there, and then if you shut it off and turn it back on, it picks up in the sequence where it left off. If you go to just the front bar, it starts the sequence over, but it's still in the random pattern mode. Same with the back. So you can see it changing patterns here, and again, that's just the front. Go back to the full 360, it's still on random. So like I said, the only thing I don't like is that if you go to steady burn for all of them, it resets the flash pattern. Not a huge deal, but that's the patterns.